Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to Mark the Point. I've got a super special guest with me today. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Who do we got on here?
Hello, everybody. My name is David with CEG Dealer School and Casino Quest. Happy to be here. Thank you so much, Mark.
Awesome. Yeah, so this is going to be my first podcast I've ever done.
Uh,
So this is going to be the Ask the Dealer. And I've got a few questions for you. I know a lot of people have seen your videos. They've seen you advertise a little bit. I want to kind of get to know who David is in the background, right? Who
okay,
is David? So I'm going to ask you a couple questions. So
fantastic.
how long have you actually been dealing? So I know you got a lot of knowledge, you got a lot of different games you've been playing. How long have you been dealing, and kind of when did you get started?
I broke in. I started my first dealing job 1991, and
Wow.
I dealt. So technically, 33 years. It's about 33 years ago. So 32, 33 years ago. I didn't deal every one of those years. Just so we're clear, I did other things within gaming. But yeah, so I started in 1991. The Golden Gate was my very first job, 1 Fremont Street.
Okay. And how much of that was like how much did you mess up like the first couple of times you were doing? Did you have like
A
any
lot.
big screw ups?
I did. I failed my audition. So the idea,
Oh
to
gosh.
become a dealer, you got to go in, you got to audition, show them that you know the games, and then you pass, you fail, whatever the case is. So
Right.
the story goes that I get on the game. I'm very nervous. They send me over to Blackjack. So I go and I see this guy. His name is Sal Bruno. He's kind of a famous, old school, bald, grouchy boss from Vegas that
Love
worked
it.
at the Golden Gate back in the day. And
Okay.
so I go in, and he sends me over to Blackjack. There's this tall lady there that's doing the auditions, and she doesn't look very happy to be there. Actually, everybody was miserable who worked at the Golden Gate. They didn't make any money, and they dealt with a lot of ruffians. You know what I mean? So like nobody was very happy to be there. None of the players looked very happy, to be honest. And so I go and I tap in, and I start dealing. It was a handheld deck, and I'm dealing, and all of a sudden I hear this woman telling me, "Put it in your pocket." And put it in your pocket. And
Put it
I
in your
I had a
pocket.
put it in my pocket. And so I'm so nervous, I have a card in my hand, and I take the card and I put it in my pocket because she kept telling me, put it in your pocket. Well, what she was talking about with the tips, they're tips that, people when people play,
Okay.
you play blackjack,
I have. Yep. Yep.
you put a tip out there for the dealer, and when they win it, they pick up the tip and they put it to the side. Well, years ago, they used to put it in your pocket. You used to have a pocket on your shirt, and that's
Right.
where you kept your tips throughout the day.
So they
But
wouldn't collect. So they wouldn't collect them like and put it all as a collaboration. Whatever tips you got, you kept. So it's not like it is now.
no, no. So it was still that place was still a collaboration. So nowadays they have a little toke box, a little metal box that they
Yep.
put on the side of the table, and they dump the tokes in there. But years ago, you kept them in your shirt. So you had them in your shirt, and then at the end of every shift, or once you got done with the table, you would dump the pocket out and put it into a bigger box in the middle of the pit. You
Right.
see? So I failed. The lady was very clear that I failed the audition, that I was literally sent packing. This other grumpy lady off to the side dealing roulette yells to Sal and says, "Hey, we need a mucker on roulette." And they asked me if I know how to muck. Mucking on roulette is just picking up the chips, not a big deal. So I like, yeah, I can muck. And they sent me over there, and that's how I started my career as a mucker. I was a roulette mucker for 2 weeks before I got to deal dice, and then the rest is history. Yeah.
And so where did you actually learn playing? Did you go to a school? Did you, or did you kind of learn kind of on your own? What is the requirements?
To be a dealer, so
Yeah.
I went to an actual school that was downtown at the time. And interestingly, it was run by this husband and wife, and years later they opened a casino in Louisiana. That was the it was the source of some local news, let's just say. But yeah, I went to a school. I was there for about, I would say, 2 months, maybe 3 months, but I think about 2 months before I finally went out in the world and auditioned to be a dealer.
What's the most money you saw somebody slap on the table? Wins, losses in general. Just what kind of figures are we talking about?
So I have seen a $1 million player, someone
Okay.
who the one of the biggest players I've ever known was a guy who was this very famous MLB sports agent. I don't remember his name, but he was like, I think he was Jose Canseco. If you're familiar with like the
Oh yeah.
'90s,
Oh
he was the guy who pushed the there was all these big baseball contracts that were being signed, and this was like the big agent, or he owned the agency or something like this, and he would come out to the Rio, and that was my biggest player that I knew of. So he would come in at $300,000 at 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 any given time on crap. He loved dice,
okay.
and he was the highest level I think player that consistently I know a few other people that were from Asia that had $3 million credit lines. They would start on roulette or baccarat. They'd end up on dice, and they would play. I knew a guy that chased down $1 million one time in about 2 days.
Oh
Um, but the most money I've seen, literally actual cash, uh, a buy-in on a table is probably only because a lot of these guys they use markers. They don't actually come out with the cash. They put the cash in the cage or they have it on a line and they call it in. They get a marker. You know what I mean? They're not just carrying around big sacks of money, right? Yeah. So no, like this agent, he was always by himself. I don't remember him being with anybody else. This little Asian entourage that would play dice, pretty high level. One of those guys I know, that was the guy who I've seen him chase out $1 million. What's interesting is over the course of about a year and a half, I watched a man, and he would come in maybe 50, $60,000 each time he played.
hmm
But I over time he lost over $1.5 million,
oh
and
gosh.
he lost his career, his wife. He was a broker in Los Angeles. He was a he was a house broker. He owned a brokerage company, and man, he's what I think has lost. I saw lost the most money over time, but this sports agent will come in a lot. Uh, but the most cash I think is about 100,000. It's 100,000. Interestingly, I'll share with you one interesting story. We
Go
had this
ahead.
kid one time show up at the Rio, and he had a backpack full of small bills. And he opens up. He asks if he can buy in with cash, and we're like, yeah, of course, it's a casino. You can buy it with cash. Of course you can. So he has his backpack. He opens it up, and it's literally like tens and ones and twenties, and we're like, oh god, because we're thinking right away. This is some drug deals. He's
Yeah.
collected for the week, and
Fake
now he's
money?
gonna.
What about fake money? Was that a thought or?
I have seen fake money come out, but this kid specifically, not fake money, and so they had to research the guy. They would not let him buy in. They told him to go to the cage, and then the cage kind of looked him up, made sure. So he had been a waiter in California and a bartender. He had collect these tips, and his dream was always to buy in on a dice game, with all this cash. And
Oh,
and
okay.
they let him do it. 10,000 in small bills. We just, we had a dead game at the time. We just laid it all out, and he lost every penny, and I bet he had the best time doing it.
And he had no clue what he was doing, did he?
He knew a little bit. He played, he started with like an iron cross. He was trying to grind it out a little bit at first. And then of course, a few drinks, he's on tilt. He had a horn bet working, and then he was moving into that. You know what I mean?
It's funny. You mentioned about the iron cross. It's almost at any given table. If a player doesn't really know what they're doing, and you ask them what are they playing. Well, I'm playing the iron cross. I don't think people really realize that's, to me, that's not a good thing. That is the most
Yeah.
grinding system. That
Yeah.
the longer you're there, the more you lose. I mean, is it a killer system, or is there one worse out there than the iron cross, or misbelieved as a good
Mm.
system?
I would say a lot of the hedging systems, the Iron Cross for what it is, if you can you can create some opportunity with it. Depends on the levels. If you invest $22, for example, right, and you have the 17 and the 5 in the field,
You make
you're
nothing.
yeah, you can't make anything. That's the
Nothing.
ultimate grind. It's
Yep.
two
Two
dollars.
dollars a time. Yep.
And then you're 22 point, the 7, then you're negative 22, and now you got to hit 11 wins or so. You know what I mean? You go a
Yep.
few 12s. But the one system I hate the most are the lays, believe it or not. I
Okay.
know you lay the 4 for 200, and then you go 110 inside. And I have this conversation with a lot of people. It's just it's a great it's a good system if you're just trying to hit a few and get lucky and get out, like you do on roulette. But you hit 1-4, you hit that lay, and none of those inside bets are going to pay enough to get out. So now you've created this bigger hole. You've been trying to avoid. You're trying to give yourself insurance against the 7, but now you're in a
What if
much
you
worse.
what if you did it for one hit? Like, so let's just say you're a light side player, but you want to play leverage with the 7, so you put $50 on the don't pass,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But you leverage it. Let's say you leverage it on the 5, a lay on the 5 for $100
Mhm.
for one roll, just for the come out 7 or to come
Yeah.
out roll, and then you pull your lay down. And then
Yeah.
you're playing your inside bet with the
I
7.
know so we have this system where, you bet $30 behind the 5, 6, 8, and 9. You bet 120, right? It'll win you $86 after the vig, and you're only really risking $30. That's not a bad way to go because it's a little bit of genius, honestly. You're all playing on the same side. You're looking for the 7. You can only lose one of those numbers, right?
Right.
So like one of my most famous players used to bet $600, no 6 and 8 on the come out roll only, and he was very successful. I mean, because if you're gonna if you're gonna bet against a number, those are the numbers to bet against because you pay the least amount of vig, right? For every
Right.
6, you're getting 5, right?
We talk about opportunity. Your channel talks about opportunity all the time. Why don't people play the don't pass more and go with the variation of the dice that's rolled more often? Why do they intentionally not play the don't pass, knowing it is the most common number? I know you have the very first roll when you're on your come out, right? So it's more often to lose. But after that, you're in the favor. Why don't people play the don't
So
pass more?
so I was literally gonna do a video about this, and it's a lot of it is mentality. I have actually worked as a dealer for a very long time, and I've watched this game sort of move the curve of the game, right? So like if you bet the don'ts, imagine this: the opportunity on the pass line. Let's just say you want to create opportunity on the pass line. We our channel we say don't come on a
Yep.
crap table. You know what I mean? All the time, but the opportunity on the pass line is not the pass line itself, is taking odds, right? We can all agree on that.
Yep.
If you're going to bet the pass line, the real opportunity is the
Max odds.
max odds, because
Only way.
max odds, true odds, because it pays exactly what it's supposed to.
Yep.
And you have this big fat bet there that's where you win the big fat money, right?
But most people don't play that, and most people don't have 10 times odds,
And
or whatever it is.
Because if you just bet the pass line, if you just bet that, let's say I'm just for the sake of simplicity, let's say it's a $25 table, right?
Yep.
Which we all hate anyways. But let's say you just put $25 on the pass line. You don't take any odds. That $25 is not creating a lot of opportunity because you're going to get some craps. You're not going to hit the point. You know what I'm saying? Maybe get some winner sub. But for the most part, that doesn't create opportunity. The problem with the don't pass is the only good bet on the don't pass is that flat bet, that first bet, right? Because once you take a lay against the number, so let's say we come out on the point of 5, right?
Yep.
Let's say you have $25 on the don'ts. That's your flat bet. And we come out on the point of 5. Now you have to lay 3 chips, right? To win 2 chips.
Win 2. Yep.
Right? So let's say you're going to lay 75 to win 50. Well, they call it reverse odds for a reason, because now you have to bet more to win less.
To get less.
So it's taking away. So your advantage is really that flat bet. But we've already established that you can't win a lot of money with that flat bet. You follow?
Like, and you can't increase it.
And
you can't increase it. That's it.
You're stuck.
Yep.
That's why I think that, of all the years I've ever been on a crap table, okay, the people that win money, there are people that win money in the don'ts, don't get me wrong, not a ton, but the big money winners, the big swing winners are always on the numbers. It's always about a long hand. It's always about the box numbers, or even I've seen people win a ton of money on the pass line because they're willing to reinvest and double up, and so there's opportunity there too.
Right.
But if you talk to any person alive that isn't on the way out, you know what I mean? Like, that's not completely depressed. It's always about numbers, dude, right?
Yeah.
It's we all cheer when there's a lot of numbers. That's when everybody's like, and the casino comes down. Those big bosses, they roll out of their offices, they belly up to the table when someone has a pass. They keep passing the dice, right? That's when the table gives up. That's the opportunity of a craps game.
All right, I'm gonna continue on with this question. This question here.
Yeah.
Dice control, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about getting those long rolls, hitting the numbers.
Yeah.
Do you believe in dice control or in dice influence or whatever you want to call it? And do you think the casinos or I guess the casinos as a whole, do they think that it's possible?
I think I'm losing you, buddy. I think I'm losing. I don't know. I can't. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I know you just.
Yeah, you got me.
I did. Yeah. So this is I get asked this all the time, dude. All the time about dice control. Here's what I would tell you. Here's the honest David answer. It's not going to be well. So the casino doesn't care. The casino prays that Guido on the watching the game is making people hit that back wall.
Mm-hmm.
And then hitting that back wall randomizes the dice, and the casinos are safe with that. I've only met a few people in my lifetime who I can say, at least with some degree, may have had an interesting turn of affairs by practicing consistently over time. I have not. I've heard some of the stories. So I'll share with you one story I share with a lot of people. There's a very famous setter out there. He comes into Rio many years ago, and he was with a big entourage of people because he goes out and he takes his people with him, and they all go and they shoot together. And he was pretty famous, and you'd always see him. He's big, he's a little heavy set guy, big pockets, and he's got a big wad of cash. And I'm literally on a dead game, and I'm watching one of my bosses interact with him. And they would not let him play, right? And they wouldn't let him play not because he was that great of a dice shooter. They didn't let him play because they didn't want him to hold up the game, the setting and this whole thing. And then if you put a whole team, you get a whole table of setters together, some of them have the whole wind up.
Yep. And then you got the people who throw. Well, then you got the other end where the people who don't set it at all, but they throw it against the back wall 10 times.
Right.
To be able to get two sets that they like, and then they shake them in their hand and throw them.
No, I agree. So that's where the casino is like, let's not have that. Let's move on. We don't know. Now, I will say this, okay? I ran into a husband and wife. They were long haul truckers. They used to come into this local casino I used to play at. And man, were they good, dude. I swear they would come in and they consistently would win a couple $100. And that was the thing. They would take a couple $100.
Yep.
And get the hell out of it, because that's how you should do it.
Make 10, 15, 20% and be done.
And because if you win like 10 grand, the casino's going to be like, hey, what's going on over here? You know what I mean?
Subtle.
So they would come in and they were setters. They had a rig in the back of their truck. Their truck was like, they had this. It was I never got to see it, but he told me that he had this rig. It literally put it over their bed in the back of their truck. I could just imagine them just rolling down the road, throwing dice. Hey, honey, what'd you get? You know what I mean? Like having this whole game. But now one time they came in. This is my pillow crew. Did I tell you the story about the pillow crew?
No. I'm ready for it.
So they were very nice. I really enjoyed. This is the part of me. I really enjoyed working a lot of these local places because people like this. I like spice of life, dude. I like people that are I'm unique. I like people that are unique. So I really enjoy. But anyways, so they would come in. They'd be like, "Hey, David, we got this new system," and so they come in. They're both carrying pillows, like literally white regular pillows, right off their bed. And they were standing on them to roll the dice because they felt that not contenting the ground allowed them a better release. You know what I mean? Like if their feet weren't connected to the ground, they were able to release it. And listen, a little bit of crazy town, but they love dice. They love to throw. They made this part of their life. And they seem to have a pretty good outcome. I mean, they seem to have a pretty consistent outcome.
If you can learn muscle memory, like pitchers in baseball, they try to throw the exact same pitch, the exact same curveball to hit the exact same spot, or no, that's that muscle memory, right? Mm-hmm. Not to say that you can muscle memory dice because it's all random once it hits the back wall. So this is where I feel like it's the random spot. Every table is different. Every table has a different bounce. So you can hit the exact same spot. And I try to throw dice as easy as I can, or, to try to hit the same spot. But everything has a different bounce, right? Hard tables, soft tables, whatever it is. Each one has a different, distance from where, the pass line is to the back of the wall. Once it hits that back wall, there's not a whole lot of things you can do about it, right?
No, I agree. I mean, the big part of the problem is, and that's why a lot of setters will say, "Hey, we have 3 different tables." We have people that love to shoot that. Here's what I will add this. You ready? There are a lot of people. We had this woman one time about 2 years ago. So I wasn't sure. So we have a dice coach. We have a coach. His name is Ronnie.
I've watched some of the videos where y'all
Yep.
spoken about him, talked about him.
Yep. And we love him. He's very casual. He's low key. He doesn't cost a whole ton of money. And so, anyways, so we were debating on how we were going to have Ronnie interact because I've been a dice dealer, work with a lot of casinos. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this lady comes in and she's like, "Listen, I don't want to learn how to set dice. I just want to learn how to confidently shoot the dice." And I'm like, "Is that a different thing? Like, what does that mean?" And Ronnie literally took her and coached her, and because she was always afraid of shooting and throwing off the table and
Hmm.
and not being confident in her role, and her mind. And I think this translates well. Now that she's confident, she has a throw, she has a way she likes to set them. She is much more confident, and she feels like it's translated to her game. Like when she gets the dice,
Right.
she's confident she's going to roll some numbers, and that's a thing. That's a thing I think in like the universe. You know
I
what I
do it.
mean? Like,
I do the same
right?
thing.
Yeah. So if you have, because I'm not confident when I shoot the dice, so I shoot the dice terribly. I always pass to Alex. You know what I mean?
So you
And
can
but
roll fours and
Alex,
tens, right?
exactly. Alex is completely confident. He'll roll all day long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think that there's merit. I really do. I don't discount it completely.
Your role Crapsee, right? Y'all's. I think was y'all helping develop that, or y'all's part of that, right?
Yeah. So we have a small part of it, but we did some of the systems, the power presses, and then you hear my voice on there. But yeah.
But so you have the different people who log in Crapsee, right? You have people who
Mhm.
log it in. There's other systems that they use. They're literally knowing whenever they throw the dice which axis it's spinning on. So they'll try to
Oh,
find their best set or whatever it is. That way, whenever the dice spin, they try to make it spin the right direction,
yeah,
assuming they're throwing it the right way every time. So
yeah,
you can actually track your sevens. You can track everything there. Not in the Crapsee in general, but people are doing that to log practice throws, right?
yeah,
How many
yeah.
sevens do I have on average? Blah blah blah. So it,
Yep.
it is crazy. I have a little practice rig at mine, which I do some of my videos at.
Mm,
I'm by no means a dice influencer at all. I
yeah.
just try to throw it the same way every time. But I do tend to try to bet more on myself than I do on other people.
And that's it, because you believe in your roles. And
Yep.
and I will say this: all of that is good for dice. I know, I'm here in Vegas. I
Yep.
work with lots of casinos. I talk with a lot of casino bosses, and the one thing we agree with is the very fact that you're sitting here, and the very fact that Ronnie's doing his thing, and there's Color Up doing his thing. All these people have been absolutely fantastic with dice. That's why I'm here with you, sir. I,
All
I
right.
feel like if you're willing to take it seriously, whatever it is, get a rig. It's good for craps. It's good for Vegas.
And I love it, and I enjoy this. To me, this
Yeah.
is this was the highlight of my day right now. I love it. All right, so we've talked about the tip and we've talked about all the fun stories here. I got kind of like one that's I would say somewhat controversial to some people. The win the craps, the roll to win, the
Roll to
stadium
win.
crap. How do people feel about this? And I guess even from a dealer's perspective, because you're not getting no tips. People aren't tipping on the stadium craps. They're not tipping
That's
on
true.
the. So you got one random person, but it's also taking away jobs too, right? So when
Hmm.
you usually have three or four people, now you got one person that doesn't know what they're doing. All they're
Hmm.
doing is just pressing a button and rolling. What do you feel that the vibe is about it?
I think that it's like an entry level craps table. So the I have done an amazing amount of research on this
Hmm.
years ago. Not with this table specifically, but with ETG. So this table has proven to be a bit of a quandary for the casinos. So there are a lot of casinos got rid of the roll to win, by the way. Went with
Okay.
they have a stadium table now where you have one person who's shooting and the other people are on the. So there's a different variations, but on the roll to win specifically, it's been kind of hit or miss with the casinos. So some casinos have taken it out. There's now two casinos that have brought it back because they had to fix some of the software because players were rolling over the weak ass dealer they put on the game. They would put somebody who really wasn't a crap dealer.
Right.
Oh, hey, can you move the dice? And they're like, yeah, I can move dice, right? So I believe that it's a great entry level, but if you want the real game,
Yep.
you need real dealers.
And the tables are sticky. I'm telling you, The last table when I went and saw you this past in June, I was down there at the Flamingo. There were $25 tables at night. I don't like playing $25 tables unless I have to, because I like the variation to be able to go lower. But the tables, literally, when you threw the dice, they look like they were so sticky where they hadn't cleaned them. It's like you feel like you're not getting a good roll out of them, at all. I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I like the stadium craps though.
The stadium craps, I've actually played that as well. I think it's fun. It still doesn't play like a real table. You know what I mean? That's the thing.
Agreed.
And once you get connected to a real table with real dealers, especially good dealers, the whole game is just a whole different. It's much more social. You have this
energy. There's energy
there. Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, and now I will say this though, for the people who don't like or that have the crazy systems of lay this, bet this, do all these little crazy hard ways and hot bets, it's for them.
Yep,
it's for them because no dealer wants to deal with that.
That's true. That's 100% true.
Right? Nobody. They would rather you do it yourself because you're not getting paid for it anyway. So, I tell you what, David, thank you for joining me. This has been awesome. I appreciate it. I couldn't ask for a better first guest on my show, on this show. Ask Dealer. I got a new series coming out with some more guests. Stay tuned for next week or the next time I do it. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining me.
Good job, buddy. See you guys later.
All right. Thank you. You have a good one.
Bye.